He's so bloody fast, this car.
It's a very long season, very tough season. Anything can happen.
Come on, you can do it.
In 1999, Ferrari were dealt a severe blow by the loss of Michael Schumacher after his accident at Silverstone. Eddie Irvine then fought the championship with vigour. Schumacher's stunning return in Malaysia helped secure the Constructors' title for Ferrari. But it was Mika Hakkinen lifting the Drivers' Championship trophy. Now the battle is revived. He looks to 2000 for his third consecutive world title.
Just have to take it easy.
Schumacher endeavours to become the first Ferrari champion since 1979.
Drive fast, don't crash.
Brazilian Rubens Barrichello takes the second seat at Ferrari, moving from the now obsolete Stewart outfit.
If I can fight to be on the podium, but to win the race, they're gonna go mad.
Eddie Irvine joins fledgling team Jaguar alongside Johnny Herbert.
We will do it.
And attracting major interest, Brit Jensen Button arrives at Williams BMW.
We're gonna give it some large.
Yeah. Go, 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 go!
The winter break over, Australia is the first to witness the culmination to months of testing. Expectations are high for the opening qualifying session at 2000. 20 minutes into the hour, Mika Hakkinen opens up the challenge for pole. McLaren still look like the team to beat. A confident David Coulthard is also on the pace, yearning for his first world title this year. Michael Schumacher was equally as fast in the morning's practice and is eager to regain that speed in qualifying. New Ferrari driver Rubens Barrichello also responds to the McLaren's time until he makes a critical error. After smoothing out understeer problems, Hakkinen re-emerges a fraction faster than his teammate. Schumacher begins a lap in the closing stages. This is his last chance to gain pole. After a promising final run, Coulthard throws it all away at turn 15. The accident brings out red flags and ruins what may have been Schumacher's best lap. A delighted Mika Hakkinen escapes with pole position. A ceremony styled in typical Formula 1 fashion graces Melbourne, Australia on race day. Regardless of McLaren's domination on the front row, both drivers know Ferrari are competitive. Schumacher shows supreme confidence in his car, and Barrichello was strong in qualifying. As the race gets underway, both McLarens make an excellent start. The Ferraris jostle for position with Heinz-Harald Frentzen and Jarno Trulli. Sandwiched between the two Jordans, Barrichello is relegated to fifth by the first corner. Schumacher slots in behind Coulthard, while an impressively quick Frentzen takes fourth. The rest of the field runs side by side. In Jaguar's debut race, Johnny Herbert's car is tipped off the track, although it's a clutch problem that causes his retirement after one lap. Schumacher keeps the pressure on. His pitboard reveals how close the German is to Coulthard. Competition from Frentzen is left behind as all three front-runners streak ahead. Overtaking opportunities are few and far between at Albert Park. Pedro de la Rosa puts a good move on Irvine at the end of lap 2. Unfortunately, the achievement is short-lived. 4 laps later, the Arrow suffers front suspension failure and hits the wall. Attempting to avoid the crash, Eddie Irvine loses control of his Jaguar, stalling in the spin. The safety car is brought out while the debris is cleared. It's a disappointing finish for the new team. The presence of the safety car puts a temporary halt to any overtaking. At the restart, Coulthard makes an early pit stop, his McLaren misfiring. A small fire igniting under the engine cover goes out as he pulls away, but jeopardizes his race. Mercedes Motorsport director Norbert Haug sees the Scot manage just a few corners before the car retires with pneumatic valve failure. Barrichello is now 4th, but is still paying for his tardy start. More drama for McLaren as smoke pours out of Häkkinen's Mercedes engine. Schumacher's prayers have been answered. Häkkinen cruises into retirement and the German takes the lead. Another pneumatic valve failure ends the English team's race. An extensive winter testing program does not mean the car's infallible. McLaren's misfortune gives Schumacher a golden opportunity to win. The German is unlikely to let it slip through his fingers. It seems only a well-executed pit stop is going to get Barrichello past Frentzen. The Brazilian will rely on master strategist Ross Brawn to help him leapfrog the Jordan. Trulli's race is over on lap 35. His Mugen Honda engine decides to blow in a big way. Jordan add to their disappointment 4 laps later, when a gear selection problem forces Frentzen out of the race. This frees up Barrichello, who becomes the quickest man on the track. On lap 45, the Ferrari debutant moves out of Schumacher's slipstream to take the lead, but all is not as it seems. The Brazilian has been switched to a 2-stop strategy. Schumacher moves up again. With both Jordans gone, Ross Brawn's tactic has cost Barrichello any chance of a win. Ralf Schumacher's 3rd place is a great start for Williams BMW. The Schumacher family looks set to monopolize the podium. Emotions are highly charged by Ferrari's 1-2 finish in the first race. The team finally seem ready to take on the mighty McLaren.
Imagine how long we're in Ferrari. It's the 5th time we try to win this Australian Grand Prix and be competitive from the beginning of the season. Thanks really to the guys. They have done a fantastic job. I mean, not just the car is reliable, but it's so bloody fast, this car. I'm really, really delighted to drive this car.
A win at Australia had eluded Schumacher throughout his career. Barrichello hasn't finished as high as 2nd since 1997. A good Ferrari debut for the Brazilian. The Australian Grand Prix was a bittersweet experience for Mika Salo. Having finished 6th, he was later disqualified. His Sauber's front wing end plates were 20 millimeters too close to the center line of the wheels.
Yeah, well, it's disappointing because the points are never easy to get, so it would have been nice to keep them.
Jenson Button was the center of attention at Albert Park. The youngest British driver to ever start a Grand Prix gave a strong performance and was on course for a points finish until his BMW engine failed.
It's been a great race, starting in 21st and getting up to 6th. It's been a good race, a good start to my career in F1, I think.
Brazilian Rubens Barrichello receives a warm welcome from Sao Paulo. For once, other top drivers are sharing the limelight. Barrichello ran second quickest to Häkkinen during the practice session, a performance he now improves on. Jarno Trulli also showed potential in practice, but he ends his first qualifying lap in the gravel, losing him precious time. There's no room for complacency in qualifying. Häkkinen feels a faster time is possible. Schumacher's comeback ends in some off-roading. The next car he sits in will be the spare. Turbulence from the cars creates a unique problem. Alesi is hit by a collapsed advertising hoarding, causing a temporary halt to proceedings.
It's never over until it's over. So I think the important thing is just to be calm. You've got to look at highly motivated Barrichello, but Barrichello's only a tenth behind Michael, so Michael's more than capable of putting back the time. We've just got to be careful.
Good advice from team boss Ron Dennis, but unexpected rain prevents any faster times being set. Mika can now relax. Overcast and hot is how the drivers and fans find Sao Paulo on race day. Excitable Barrichello fans shake the circuit foundations, chanting and banging drums in honor of their Brazilian hero. The noise just serves to enhance the tension. McLaren drivers tie up the front row. Jaguar show promise with Irvine starting 6th. An empty garage marks Sauber's absence from the race. A problem first occurred in practice. A crash was caused by Saulo's rear wing becoming unfastened. Both drivers suffered similar incidents, resulting from the bumpy track. Sauber reluctantly withdrew from the race on safety grounds. As the lights dim, it's a good start for Häkkinen, who fights off the attentions of Schumacher. The German deprives Coulthard of second, who was slower off the grid. It's not the start McLaren needed. Both Ferraris are on two-stop strategies and are subsequently lighter on fuel. Schumacher doesn't waste time staring at Häkkinen's rear wing. He passes at the start of lap 2. Showing the same desire to get on, Barrichello makes a similar move on Coulthard. By the end of lap 2, the Brazilian is up into 3rd place. From 12th on the grid, Jarno Trulli carves through the field. He seems to have hooked up the Jordan better than his teammate Frentzen. Schumacher consistently builds upon his lead, gaining the advantage before the pit stops. Trulli's qualifying problems are slowly being redeemed. Fisichella is next to be passed. Häkkinen's fuel-laden McLaren has held up Barrichello for several laps, but impressing his home crowd gives the incentive. The Brazilian eases past and up into 2nd place. Mercedes power is no match for Ferrari today. Overestimating the Jaguar, Irvine crashes out from 6th, marking his 2nd retirement in as many races. Despite an aggressive drive, Barrichello cannot catch Schumacher. On lap 27, his Ferrari is in trouble. The car is crippled by hydraulic failure, destroying any chance of repeating Ferrari's Melbourne result. There's concern too at McLaren. Häkkinen, leading after Schumacher's first pit stop, pulls into the garage on lap 30 after his Mercedes engine dies. Schumacher regains the lead with no obvious challenger in sight. Having lost the use of 3rd gear, Coulthard can do little more than hang on to 2nd. Flavio Briatore is a new face at Benetton, but he's not that unfamiliar. Frentzen is now fourth and ahead of his teammate. The Italian's charge was stilted when his new tyres failed to come up to pressure. Following his pit stop, Verstappen has dropped to 7th, a position Button also has his eye on. The F1 new boy shows great potential on a track he doesn't know well. He moves closer to the points on lap 55. Since Häkkinen's retirement, Schumacher's minor concern has been falling oil pressure. The Ferrari survives to seize victory, reiterating the team's competitiveness. McLaren take Coulthard into second, but must rectify reliability problems if they are to beat Ferrari this year.
Thanks, guys. You have done a great job.
Yeah, well done again, Michael. Great job.
It was quite entertaining. I mean, it doesn't happen too often that you have between the leaders a real fight and overtaking, so I enjoyed that. It was a long time ago.
Michael Schumacher shows star qualities yet again. Fisichella scores Benetton's highest result since Canada 1999. After finishing second in the Brazilian Grand Prix, David Coulthard was disqualified. Stewards deemed the McLaren's front wing was 7 millimeters too low.
Our defence was the nature of the circuit, caused us to be outside the regulations. Clearly they didn't feel we had a strong enough case, so we have to live with that and make sure hopefully it doesn't happen again.
Imola is a tranquil town. That is until Formula 1 invades for the San Marino Grand Prix. The deafening noise is as much from the Ferrari fans as it is from the engines. David Coulthard usually goes well at this circuit. It is no surprise, therefore, that he has the fastest time after the first set of qualifying laps. Mika Häkkinen attacks the corners and curbs. He's the only driver on soft compound tyres and is quicker through the sectors than Coulthard. In front of an adoring crowd, Michael Schumacher makes his final run. It's by no means a perfect lap, but with few minutes of the session left, a Ferrari tops the timesheets. As the last minute ticks away, an excellent third sector helps Häkkinen back into pole position. A red hue emanates from around the assembled Tifosi, all hoping for a Ferrari win, but Mika Häkkinen has other ideas. Engines drown out the crowd, and it's all systems go. Schumacher veers in front of Coulthard to compensate for a sluggish start. Häkkinen pulls clear of the squabbling pack behind. Blocked by both Ferraris, Coulthard has to back off, surrendering his place to Barrichello. A lightning start by Villeneuve puts him from 9th to 5th at the first corner. The two Jordans of Trulli and Frentzen follow. Four laps later, one Jordan is already in the pits. Frentzen's car jams in 6th gear, forcing the German into early retirement. Eddie Jordan relies on Trulli for results, but he's hard pushed to find a way past Villeneuve. Barrichello defends against Coulthard, who's eager to get going. Michael steadily pursues Häkkinen, but positions look unlikely to change. With most cars running the same strategy and overtaking so difficult, more is required to get ahead. Häkkinen has a 4-second lead. In for his second pit stop, Villeneuve links up with the BAR crew. Outstanding teamwork sees them perform one of the fastest stops of the race. For the past 13 laps, the Canadian had been challenging Ralf Schumacher for 5th place. The German is now out of fuel and out of the race on lap 45. Having broken his crutch straps on the grid, Barrichello's drive may be uncomfortable, but it doesn't account for his lack of pace. An impatient Coulthard is still unable to pass. Hakkinen pits after a very short middle stint. His Mercedes engine has momentarily cut out on the track. His lead is down to 2 seconds. The McLaren's electronic glitch turns the race situation into Schumacher's favour, and he now has a chance to stay ahead. An opportunity also arises for Coulthard as he and Barrichello pit on the same lap. McLaren's service is faultless. Although it's incredibly close, Coulthard squeezes in front of Rubens, finally taking 3rd place from the Ferrari. Jean Todt waits on Schumacher, who has made good progress in the clear laps before his pit stop. The Ferrari is stationary for just 6.2 seconds. Ron Dennis sees it's enough for Schumacher to resume the lead. Hakkinen follows up some 3 seconds adrift. There's a distinct feeling of déjà vu. Schumacher leads for the 3rd consecutive race. It's now evident that there is damage to the McLaren's floor, sustained earlier when Hakkinen ran over debris. Despite this, he hovers over Schumacher's shoulder until the very last turn. Finishing a second behind, Hakkinen may have won if it weren't for the imbalance in his car. Instead, it's a dream result for Michael Schumacher and the fans.
We did it for all the tifosis. I hope everybody is happy with this, as far as I saw outside. It looks like so do I. Now we look forward to the next one.
Well done, Michael. That's great. Very well done.
Schumacher takes his 3rd successive win. 3rd time lucky for Hakkinen and Coulthard. Both reached the podium in San Marino. Mika Hakkinen was conspicuous by his absence from the championship points table. He now sits equal 4th, 24 points behind Schumacher. Ferrari also streak ahead in the Constructors' title, 29 points clear of McLaren. Imola took time out to acknowledge the 100th Grand Prix of Jaguar's Eddie Irvine and Jordan's Heinz-Harald Frentzen. The pair's debut in '94 and '93 was with the Sauber and Jordan teams. The FIA also announced a new ruling.
We've said we're no longer prepared to accept speed limiters on the cars in the pit lane. It's going to be up to the driver to make sure he doesn't exceed the speed limit. We have reason to believe that the speed limiting devices were also being used to assist the cars at the start.
The use of speed limiters is detectable as they open the car's fuel flap and illuminate the rear light. The same electronics could be used to simulate traction control. Formula 1 makes an earlier than usual call on Silverstone, which has been subject to persistent rain. Exceeding Williams' expectations so far this season, all eyes are on Jenson Button. His first appearance on home ground begins well. Rubens Barrichello puts in some early runs and temporarily holds pole. As the damp track rapidly dries, Schumacher bides his time. Jordan have made small aerodynamic changes to their cars, which seem to benefit Frentzen. In the dying minutes of qualifying, Barrichello snatches back pole position. Mika Häkkinen's run is slowed when yellow flags are waved for Jarno Trulli's spun Jordan. The Finn does not better third. Having waited so long for the best track conditions, Schumacher just fails to start another lap before the checkered flag. Ferrari's first 2000 pole belongs to Barrichello. As the countdown to the British Grand Prix gets underway, celebrities and fans are all gripped by F1 fever. Some drivers find time for a smile before taking their positions in the unusual grid formation. The adrenaline gets pumping as the lights illuminate. At the cue, the cars jump into action. Michael Schumacher has a disastrous start from 5th. Button and Villeneuve both get past and he's side by side with brother Ralph into Copse. A lackluster performance from the championship leader. Barrichello leads Frentzen, Coulthard, Häkkinen and Button. Ralf Schumacher, ahead of his brother, has also taken Villeneuve. Both Williams in the points marks the team's best performance this season. Try as he might, Michael Schumacher cannot find a way past Villeneuve's BAR and may have to sit it out until the pit stops. Barrichello gets a reminder of his narrow lead. Häkkinen runs wide as he struggles with understeer on the McLaren. Verstappen's Arrow suffers electronic failure, making him the first car to retire. As Frentzen comes in for a scheduled pit stop, he hands second place to David Coulthard, who is still out on the track. Exiting his own pit stop, Button also loses a place to his teammate. De La Rosa is also out with similar problems to Verstappen. The Arrows team can pack up early. Along the hangar straight, Coulthard closes in on Barrichello. He makes a lovely pass round the outside into Stowe. Häkkinen comes in on lap 31, his one and only stop of the race. Overseen by Ron Dennis, the crew makes small adjustments to the McLaren in an attempt to improve the handling. Now running second, the engine telemetry shows an irregularity with Barrichello's Ferrari. On lap 33, Coulthard brings the McLaren into the pits. His 10-second stop hands the lead back to Barrichello. But 2 laps later, the Ferrari's engine momentarily cuts out mid-turn. As it kicks back into life, the car is put into a spin. Barrichello recovers, taking to the grass which is still waterlogged from the previous day's rain. His point-scoring potential looks bleak. When he does make it back to the pits, hydraulic failure spells the end of the Brazilian's race. Ferrari teammate Michael Schumacher takes over the lead. With clear track ahead of him, he sets some of the fastest laps of the race. Further back, Zonta makes a mistake at Stowe Corner. On lap 38, Schumacher is the last one-stopper into the pits. Although the teams get him away in 8.8 seconds, the German is passed in the pit lane, dropping him to 6th place. Eddie Jordan speaks with his driver Frentzen, who now takes over the ever-changing lead. In close formation behind Coulthard, Ralf Schumacher, Button and Häkkinen. Frentzen pits 3 laps later. Jordan's 2-stop strategy denies him the lead. Schumacher's Ferrari heading towards Copse signifies Frentzen is rejoining in 6th. The 2 Williams drivers running 2nd and 3rd have yet to make their final stops, which will advance Frentzen through the field. Unfortunately, the German slows just 6 laps from the end. His Jordan stuck in 6th gear. Frentzen cruises to retirement. Disappointment too for Jacques Villeneuve, whose car is halted by transmission failure. Mika Häkkinen keeps the pressure on Coulthard to the finish. But the Scot is first to cross the line. It's a proud moment for David. Victory is always sweeter on home ground.
It's great for the team. They've got both cars, first and second. Obviously, I'm very happy for myself to win this race, to win it a second time, and I'm really looking forward to the rest of the season.
Aptly, the British Grand Prix gives Coulthard his first win this year. Another Brit in the points, Jenson Button, puts in a good performance. The British Grand Prix was the victim of the most appalling spring weather. The torrential rain caused havoc for the drivers. With car parks and the circuit saturated, it was the fans who really suffered.
I feel terribly sorry for the public. It's for us, we're professionals. The promoter, that's the risk they take. But the public, they shouldn't be subjected to this.
I feel desperately sorry for everybody. It's a horrible, horrible piece of British weather.
Barcelona is the city, Circuit de Catalunya the venue. Spain gets a taste of Formula 1. Jordan driver Heinz-Harald Frentzen is on track within 10 minutes of qualifying opening. His new lap time becomes the standard to beat. Williams technical director Patrick Head observes Ralf Schumacher's time through the sectors. He clocks up the fastest lap so far. Coulthard's McLaren is experiencing a fuel pressure problem. The Scot has to run with more fuel than normal. 4th becomes his highest position. Nearly 20 minutes into the hour, Barrichello takes the advantage to Ferrari. Häkkinen may be lacking rear grip, but he also squeezes a pole time out of the McLaren. Michael Schumacher times his flying lap to perfection. Temporary cloud coverage has dropped the surface temperature by 5 degrees Celsius, giving Schumacher a distinct advantage. In sharp contrast to the qualifying calamity at Silverstone, the German takes his first pole position of the season. The race foundations have been laid. Sunday's conditions are warm and sunny, perfect for Formula 1 racing. A huge crowd prepares to watch 65 grueling laps of Catalunya. The technical nature of the track will make it a tough race for the drivers. Warm-ups complete and the lights are out. Schumacher applies a tried and tested tactic, veering into his rival's path. Häkkinen tries to outdrag the German into turn 1. The Ferrari star stays in front. His brother moves into 3rd from 5th on the grid. The former world champion leads from Häkkinen, Ralf Schumacher, Coulthard and Barrichello. Jean Alesi is struggling with a lack of rear-end grip, but it makes little difference as Pedro de la Rosa punts him off. Yet another retirement for Alain Prost's team. Michael Schumacher built up a comfortable lead over Häkkinen, and inspired Ralf Schumacher is routed to 3rd. What's more, the Williams driver seems to have no problem keeping a determined Coulthard at bay. Engine failure puts pay to what could have been a very good weekend for Villeneuve. Another frustrating race for Honda and BAR. The Ferrari pit crew prepares for the leader's first stop on lap 24. Each man has his own well-rehearsed task. Chief Mechanic Nigel Stepney is the refueler. Although not seriously injured, he's put out of action when Schumacher is waved off too early. Coulthard is in for his first pit stop from 4th position. The McLaren pit crew give the all clear, but the Scot is having trouble selecting first gear. It's a costly delay. He had been fighting with Williams and Ferrari. Ralf Schumacher retains 3rd, but a quick stop by Barrichello could now leapfrog the Brazilian ahead of Coulthard. The English team's mechanics are quickly back in action as Häkkinen comes in from the lead. The Finn inherited first place when Schumacher made his stop. Unlike his teammate, the reigning world champion has no problems getting away. The pit lane speed restriction requires some restraint on the accelerator. Perhaps this contributes to Häkkinen losing track position to Schumacher. With more than half the race still to run, the Finn is not deterred. He sets about catching the Ferrari and piling on the pressure. Other interest comes from Rubens Barrichello and David Coulthard, who both want 3rd place off Ralf Schumacher. Catalunya doesn't offer many overtaking opportunities. More pit stops may resolve the battle. Häkkinen reels in Schumacher, but that's just the easy bit out of the way, as the Finn knows only too well. Lap 41. Ralf Schumacher and Barrichello complete their second stops. Having pitted 1 lap earlier, Coulthard is to benefit. He moves up into 3rd place. Meanwhile, Schumacher and Häkkinen are heading towards their pit crews. Minus Nigel Stepney, Ferrari are under pressure. The substitute fuel man has trouble engaging his nozzle. McLaren mechanics perform an average stop. Mika takes the lead with ease. The significance of Stepney's absence is realized. Schumacher's race has been turned around. The German has got a lot of traffic in front of him and a fired up David Coulthard behind. Catching a toe off the championship leader, Coulthard goes around the outside, taking the Ferrari number 1 for 2nd place. A great piece of driving by the Scot. Ferrari eyes focus on Barrichello as he battles Ralf Schumacher for 4th. The Brazilian is struggling to get close enough to the German to attempt a passing maneuver. The Williams mechanics look on nervously as Ralf Schumacher catches up with his brother. The Ferrari driver has a slow puncture in his left rear tyre. Michael Schumacher makes life very difficult for his sibling, allowing Barrichello to close right up. He seizes the moment and moves into 3rd position. Fantastic teamwork from the Ferrari drivers. There's more misfortune for Williams as Jenson Button retires from 6th. BMW engine failure takes care of the Brit just 4 laps from the end. Mika Häkkinen rounds the final corner of the Spanish Grand Prix. The Finn takes the checkered flag to the satisfaction of his colleagues.
I don't know how I could explain it, how pleased I am. I'm just over the moon, or how you say it.
McLaren drivers swap places on the podium, repeating Silverstone's 1-2 finish. Mika Häkkinen clocks up his first victory of the season. Häkkänen's win in Spain moves him up to second in the Drivers' Championship table. He's still 14 points behind the leader, Michael Schumacher. David Coulthard survived a terrifying plane crash days before the Spanish race, but insisted it wouldn't affect his work.
Well, as soon as I knew physically I was fine to drive the car, psychologically I have absolutely no problem with driving at this circuit and this race so soon after the accident.
The Scot was reluctant to speak extensively about the crash in which 2 pilots lost their lives. McLaren bosses praised Coulthard's decision to race, saying his resolve was remarkable. Coulthard later admitted that taking to the track had worsened his injuries, 3 cracked ribs and torn muscles, but he fought on aggressively, finishing second to teammate Mika Häkkinen.
I felt I was pretty focused before, but I feel a renewed focus and a renewed determination to get as much out of every day as possible.
A lot of people ask how race drivers can do things like driving after a plane crash or a car accident. Must the race driver be mentally something very special?
Well, they have no brain, so it's very simple.
The qualifying session for the European Grand Prix is about to begin, and changeable weather conditions look likely. Michael Schumacher is the German fans' favourite, but it's Mika Häkkinen taking to the track. The Finn is unhappy with the McLaren setup and works hard for a good lap. Technical director Adrian Newey is also concerned. David Coulthard, on the other hand, is pleased with the balance of his car, and it shows as he moves into a potential pole position. Michael Schumacher, the early pole sitter, makes a mistake at the Dunlop curve. This doesn't improve his chances of stealing back the top slot. Showers now look imminent. John Alesi gets out of shape, leaving the Prost crew with some repair work later. Rain disrupts the last 30 minutes of the session and no more quick times are placed. David Coulthard takes his first pole position for nearly 2 years. Grey clouds still hang ominously above the Nürburgring at the start of race day. But stormy weather doesn't deter the crowd. Even the German Premier shows up. David Coulthard can expect a tough start with Schumacher alongside him on the grid. The cars wait for the lights. Häkkinen makes a blistering start. Fisichella bumps Trulli. The rest of the field pass him like he's stationary. Häkkinen and Coulthard have literally swapped places, with Schumacher still second. Trulli's crippled Jordan retires, its suspension wrecked. The first 10 cars run virtually nose to tail. Häkkinen tries to put some distance between himself and Schumacher. Lap 3 sees engine failure for Frentzen, the conclusion of a miserable weekend for Heinz. Both cars out spells disappointment for team boss Eddie Jordan. There's slight drizzle, but out in front it's still Häkkinen and Schumacher, pulling away from the rest of the field, although the track is visibly more slippery. It doesn't concern Schumacher. He excels in changeable weather and attacks into the chicane. A bold move which pays off on lap 11. The Ferraris run in sync as Barrichello makes a move of his own, this time to pass David Coulthard in the McLaren. Minardi's Marc Genet has problems resulting from an earlier spin. Diniz in the Sauber demonstrates the deteriorating track conditions. Activity in the Ferrari garage. There's a 2-team battle brewing as Michael and Mika pit together on lap 15. For a brief moment, the race is out of their hands. It's Schumacher away from his marks first, rejoining the track and retaining the lead. He exits the pit lane just in front of David Coulthard. The Finn now has his teammate ahead, but wastes no time rectifying the situation. Häkkinen lies second, back in pursuit of a scarlet Ferrari. Jos Verstappen and Eddie Irvine fight it out for 6th place. The Jaguar driver not willing to concede a championship point. Irvine's gritty determination doesn't reward and claims Ralf Schumacher's Williams in the process. Irvine continues, but not for long. It marks Eddie's 3rd retirement in 6 races. Jaguar's disappointing season doesn't improve. Another casualty of the collision, Verstappen's Arrows has suspension problems, slamming him into the tyres. Barrichello is now charging. A 3-stop strategy was employed to compensate for his late switch to wets. Fisichella yields 4th place to the Brazilian. Schumacher in for his 2nd pit stop. Häkkinen inherits the lead with 32 laps remaining. The Finn needs to secure about a 30-second advantage before his own stop if he is to get out ahead of the Ferrari. The crew may be ready, but back markers have slowed Häkkinen's charge. He's only got 18 seconds over Schumacher when he pits on lap 45. It isn't enough. The German passes the pit lane exit. Mika has it all to do. Valve problems spell the end for Villeneuve. On track, Williams and Jaguar scrap for 7th. Caught out in the poor visibility, young Jensen Button runs up the back of Herbert. His crew waits to replace the damaged nose, but with water in the electrics, the Williams has shut down. Wirtz attempts an optimistic move on Herbert. Johnny's bad luck continues, just 6 laps from the end. Michael Schumacher takes the final turn in the European Grand Prix, a race he controlled with ease. Mika Häkkinen is the only other driver to finish on the same lap.
I was dreaming for it. Sometimes dreams come true, and obviously now we are in a very good situation. We have a strong car, we have a good team, and we have some points in advance.
This race brings Schumacher's winning tally to 4. Pedro de la Rosa scores Arrow's first championship point of the season. Prost driver Nick Heidfeld achieved his best ever grid position. Although only 13th, he out-qualified teammate Alesi. But it had all been in vain. The car weighed in 2 kilograms underweight.
In this case, we have some new parts here this week, and they got the calculation wrong.
The unfortunate Heidfeld was disqualified from the race. Jaguar driver Johnny Herbert made his 150th Grand Prix start, 11 years after his first season with Benetton.
It feels like years, I have to say. It feels a long time, but it's good that I suppose that I've been able to do that many Grand Prix.
Life with his current team isn't always easy. The cars have experienced difficulties in their first season. Sometimes Johnny's even had to push. The wealth and glamour of Formula 1 is never more evident than at Monaco. In front of the world's media, the sports stars prepare for qualifying. David Coulthard, a podium finisher in the last 4 races, was the fastest in practice. The Jordan team, opting for extra soft tyres, surprise everyone with their speed. Challenging Trulli's time, Coulthard runs tenths of a second quicker to take provisional pole. Moments later, Michael Schumacher is on the track. Fortunate to avoid slower traffic, he goes quicker still. Jarno Trulli provides unexpected competition. The Italian sets the fastest lap on his third run. Now displaced, Schumacher is forced to work hard. Another clear lap sees him topple Trulli from the top spot, which is vital to a place like Monaco. Here at last is the jewel in F1's crown, the Grand Prix which most drivers aspire to win. Boris Becker offers tips on tennis before the McLaren duo prepare to race. Jarno Trulli appears quite bewildered by his place on the front row alongside Michael Schumacher. As the race gets underway, the top 5 drivers maintain their grid positions. Frentzen separates Coulthard in third from Häkkinen in fifth. Into Old Station hairpin, Jenson Button meets the arrows of De La Rosa. Despite the number of cars involved, only Button and De La Rosa have damage. The race is stopped on the opening lap and there's work to be done before the restart.
Okay, we'll put tyres on that we can start the race from the end of the pit lane, Dickie.
Stranded drivers race back to the pits and line up on the grid once more. Schumacher has another perfect start. Ferrari leads. Trulli, Coulthard, Frentzen, Häkkinen, Ralf Schumacher and Alesi. Häkkinen looks at passing Frentzen, knowing he has places to make up. McLaren are in a unique situation with both cars stuck behind Jordan's. Schumacher has it easy out in front, soon easing away from the rest of the field. To the Germans' advantage, Jarno Trulli successfully defends second place. David Coulthard finding it impossible to pass. Frentzen heads the next group, causing similar problems for Häkkinen. Schumacher, increasing his lead by around a second a lap, demonstrates his dominance on the narrow street circuit. Lap 35, Häkkinen begins to slow. Ralf Schumacher gains a place while the stricken McLaren cruises to the pits. It's an unscheduled stop, but Mika clearly has trouble. A problem with the brake pedal is the cause. Once remedied, Häkkinen rejoins the race, albeit further down the field. Attempting to avoid Häkkinen as he exits the pits, Ralf Schumacher rams the barrier at Saint-Devote. Throwing immediate doubt on his presence in Canada, he hobbles away, having sustained a deep cut to his left leg. Jarno Trulli has driven well to keep David Coulthard at bay. Sadly, gearbox failure destroys the Italians' chances of a podium finish. Bitter disappointment for Jordan. Schumacher has now pulled out a considerable lead, but without the Jordan in his path, David Coulthard begins setting new fastest laps. The McLaren isn't the only worry. Schumacher's car looks damaged. As something gives way, the German is forced to slow, limping towards the pits on lap 55. Unfortunately, the car is doomed. The suspension broken through overheating caused by a cracked exhaust. While David Coulthard takes over the lead, Häkkinen moves nearer to the points. Like others before him, Frentzen becomes a victim of Saint-Devote. Driver error is to blame. Heinz throws away second place. It's a disastrous finish for the Jordan team, who had so much potential going into the race. Barrichello benefits from Frentzen's retirement, with Fisichella close behind in third. Some 20 seconds ahead, David Coulthard negotiates the final stages of the twisty street circuit. Winning at Monaco is a prestigious moment, and the Scot is a popular victor.
I've benefited today from problems with Michael and with Jarno, but that's Monaco, and I've had I think my fair share of bad luck over the years, so I'm quite happy to take this win today.
Until now, David had only finished in the points at Monaco once before. Häkkinen scraped 1 point at the end thanks to Frenzen's retirement. With this win, Coulthard moves above his teammate in the championship table, 12 points behind leader Michael Schumacher. McLaren are closing in on Ferrari for the Constructors' title. The gap narrows to just 5 points. Alongside the St. Lawrence River, Canada's Grand Prix circuit holds the season's 8th qualifying round. Schumacher and Häkkinen's desire for pole position is probably equalled by Jacques Villeneuve, who's on home ground. But the Ferrari's straight-line speed will be hard to match. Häkkinen has the potential. A faulty shock absorber doesn't hamper his early run. Then Coulthard emerges as the man to beat him. Villeneuve is resolute and manages 6th position. McLaren lose out to Schumacher as pole is exchanged again. On his last flying lap, Coulthard goes quickest by 9/1000ths of a second. But McLaren barely have time to celebrate. Schumacher snatches pole position in the final moments.
Well done, Michael. That was great. Fantastic effort.
The race takes place at the Gilles Villeneuve circuit, named after Canada's racing hero. Ralf Schumacher has passed medical examinations on his leg and is fit enough to race. Seconds before the formation lap, David Coulthard stalls his McLaren. Mechanics fire up the Mercedes engine, but in contrast to the rules, they are still on the grid. Uneasy glances fill the McLaren garage as they ponder the consequences. David falls into place alongside Michael and concentrates on the race. Using his uncompromising tactic, Schumacher slices across Coulthard's path and into the lead. Jacques Villeneuve makes an astonishing start, moving from 6th to 3rd. As the race gets underway, Eddie Irvine is left standing with a clutch problem. The positions settle down, leaving Häkkinen a disappointing 5th. Handling the arrows with confidence, Pedro de la Rosa moves into 6th. A lap and a half down, Irvine joins the race. Villeneuve slips back 3 seconds from the leaders, holding up faster cars like Barrichello and Häkkinen. Coulthard loses 2nd place. McLaren's starting grid drama incurs a 10-second stop-go penalty. After his setback, his race prospects look bleak. David finds himself down in 10th. His main threat removed, Schumacher is in a race of his own. Lap 25, Barrichello finally passes Villeneuve for 2nd at the hairpin. He begins pulling away with incredible pace. Around this time, the circuit gets a sprinkling of rain. Frentzen pits with concern over his brakes.
Leave the rear tyres off, we need to look at the disc. Leave the rear tyres off, we need to look at the disc.
He's forced into retirement on lap 32. Villeneuve fights to keep track position, but faces tough competition from Häkkinen. Once the McLaren gets ahead at turn 1, it immediately sets the new fastest lap. After making his first pit stop, Schumacher sees Häkkinen in his mirrors, but the Finn has yet to stop himself. Still clinging to 4th place, Villeneuve pits. He takes on new slicks just as the rain gets heavier. The track becomes more slippery as Schumacher pits on lap 45. He takes on wet tyres. Directly behind, Barrichello queues for a set of wets after failing to swap during his first pit stop. McLaren experienced the same problem. Both their drivers are on slicks. Barrichello will pay for the extra stop. Had he remained on the track, his Ferrari would have been leading. He rejoins the race half a second behind Schumacher. In from fourth place, Häkkinen also gets tyres to suit the bad weather. As conditions worsen, drivers struggle to stay on the track, Schumacher being one of them. The excursion through the gravel does no harm to his lead. Lap 64, Villeneuve takes out Ralf Schumacher on the hairpin. A promising start for BAR ends in one swift move. Jacques apologises for the incident, which concludes a poor race for Williams BMW. Coulthard in 8th attacks Alex Wurz, who sustains damage to his front wing, but continues. During the last few laps, Barrichello carves into Schumacher's lead. The German is nursing a suspected rear brake problem, but team orders prevent the Brazilian challenging the Ferrari #1. With barely a tenth of a second between them, it's a rewarding finish for team principal Jean Todt. Fisichella secures a superb third, while Mika Häkkinen settles for fourth.
The team obviously asked him to slow down and not try to push too much, because I couldn't push anymore, and thanks to Rooms he did. He played very well, and we both finished safely the race first and 2.
Second place is becoming familiar to Rubens Barrichello. Briatore pumps up Benetton, giving Fisichella another podium finish. Michael Schumacher has a comfortable 22-point lead in the championship. From position 4 downwards, there is no change from the last race. Qualifying is about to commence in Magny-Cours, France. Barrichello's Ferrari takes to the track and laps 3 seconds quicker than the early pace setters. Local favourite Jean Alesi drives his Prost to the limit, setting a good opening time. Erja Häkkinen looks on as husband Mika makes a bid for pole, but he's unable to beat Barrichello's time. David Coulthard's McLaren has endless problems. Michael Schumacher on his first run out just completes the fastest lap before yellow flags are issued. Coulthard sets a time in Häkkinen's spare car, but comes back for his own now repaired McLaren. With the clock ticking, David feels the pressure. In the closing stages of the session, 3 men aim to beat Schumacher. Coulthard claims second fastest. Barrichello takes third on the grid. Häkkinen cannot improve his time and sits a surprising 4th. Michael Schumacher adds pole position number 27 to his career file. Magny-Cours is set to embrace the season's 9th race. Michael Schumacher can feel confident about his place on the grid, but the McLaren pair are both hungry for maximum points. With just minutes to go, it's time to shut out the noise and find deep concentration. Cars away from the grid. Schumacher slices across the front of David Coulthard. He eases off the gas, which allows Barrichello through. The rest of the pack fall into position behind. Ferrari's first and second, McLaren third and fourth. Jacques Villeneuve moves from 7th to 5th and Frentzen up to 6th. Prost driver Nick Heidfeld puts teammate Jean Alesi into a spin on the Adelaide hairpin. Alesi recovers 4 places down. Coulthard lines up to attack Barrichello. Eventually getting the power down, he slides through in hot pursuit of the other Ferrari. Lap 24 and the race leader is into the pits. Coulthard, yet to make his first stop, takes control at the front. One lap later, McLaren and Ferrari have Rubens and David in together. McLaren are quick, but Coulthard does not have time to exit the pit lane before Schumacher passes. The Scotsman reclaims second with Michael in his sights. Barrichello loses out behind, rejoining 4th behind Hakkinen. Coulthard strikes into Adelaide hairpin, but Schumacher refuses to move, forcing him wide. David sees red, expressing his feelings in no uncertain terms. Jean Alesi, under attack from Wirtz, is also on a short fuse, but the failed move is at Benetton's cost. With 33 laps remaining, Ferrari still maintain the lead. Both McLarens are now breathing down Schumacher's neck. Driver and pit wall communication halts while Coulthard concentrates on his next move. He dives down the inside as Schumacher turns in. There's barely a hair's breadth between them. Their tyres brush, but David is through. Hakkinen also takes a look, but doesn't gamble with his points. Lap 43, the pit crew's battle resumes. Michael and Mika in together. More than just a pit stop, this is the fight for second place. Schumacher comes off better, Mika snapping at his heels. David Coulthard motors on, waiting for his own second stop. The McLaren team work to perfection. Schumacher pushes hard to steal back the lead, but Coulthard exits the pit lane in good time. After 4 laps in the Jordan's dirty air, Ralf Schumacher passes Jarno Trulli. The move puts him 6th, stressing the improvement of the Williams team. Hakkinen, threatening the Ferrari, receives an invitation to pass on lap 59, a rare opportunity which is seized on immediately. Moments later, shock in the Ferrari camp. The engine is blown on Michael Schumacher's car. Remembering David's problems in qualifying, the Scot is told to ease up. Neither McLaren nor Coulthard want to risk 10 championship points in the closing stages. Not all the action's at the front. Ralf Schumacher has reeled in Jacques Villeneuve in the BAR, but time is running out. As his crew wait to greet him, David Coulthard rounds off a superb drive to take victory for McLaren.
Well, I have to apologise for my hand gestures. That's not at all in keeping with the sport. But as you can understand, probably my emotions are running high. I know to be in a battle, in a position to battle for the championship, I needed to win here today, and that's what I'm trying to get done.
David Coulthard takes his 3rd win, the highest number he has achieved in one season. BAR are in the points again, courtesy of Jacques Villeneuve. Jordan are pleased to have landed a works engine supply deal with Honda, suggesting the engine manufacturer's disappointment with BAR's performance this year.
Obviously very happy for Eddie, a little bit disappointed for ourselves, but I don't think it's bad. I think it's probably good, and I think Honda will do an excellent job for the two teams.
If I don't win a title with Honda, then I'm afraid it'll be a poor reflection on the team or myself in the future.
In France, McLaren confirmed David Coulthard and Mika Häkkinen have been signed for 2001. First brought together in 1996, this marks a record-breaking driver partnership.
I'm not nice, I want to win, and I've done it here today.
Host to the Austrian Grand Prix since 1997, the A1 Ring prepares for F1 qualifying. With rain threatening in the opening minutes, many drivers take to the track early. Rubens Barrichello puts in a good lap before the clouds break. Teammate Schumacher is surprisingly slower. Exceeding the limits of the BAR, Jacques Villeneuve ruins a fast lap. Schumacher comes in for work. David Coulthard takes advantage of an empty track. Schumacher must watch and wait as main rival Häkkinen also clocks up a fast time. McLaren look quietly confident. Back on the track and feeling the pressure, Michael Schumacher makes a mistake. Mika's position is safe. Michael tries again, but the slide costs valuable time. The Finn is triumphant. The serenity of the Styrian Mountains is about to be disrupted by the race. But there's always time for a bit of star spotting on the grid. Celebrities like Placido Domingo and Bryan Adams mingle with the F1 drivers. Luciano Berti replaces Eddie Irvine, who has suspected appendicitis. It's a clean start for both McLarens, but Mika Häkkinen edges in front and down towards turn 1. Schumacher suddenly spins in a cloud of tyre smoke. Catastrophe for Ferrari at the first corner. The safety car is brought out while the carnage is cleared. The replay shows Zonta's BAR clips the back of the Ferrari. In a separate incident behind, Deniz pushes Fisichella into the wall. Trulli is simply blocked. Through all this, Mika Salo emerges third, De La Rosa fourth, with both McLarens up front. On lap 3, the safety car leaves the track and racing resumes. Rubens Barrichello begins carving through the field, despite having a broken rear diffuser from the first corner incident. Just outside the points in 7th, Frentzen spins out dramatically, sliding on his own oil after a blown pipe. Both Jordans are out after just 4 laps. On lap 8, Barrichello passes Mika Salo, who's now 4th. Mika Häkkinen extends his lead, pulling away from the rest of the field at around half a second a lap. Even teammate Coulthard, with a slightly heavier fuel load, struggles to keep up with the Finn. Ricardo Zonta and Pedro Deniz are issued with stop-go penalties for their part in the first corner clash. Each car is held for 10 seconds by their crew. Pitboard instructions tell Mika to minimize the revs. There's no need to jeopardize the car while so far ahead. After running an impressive third, Pedro de la Rosa retires with gearbox failure. Häkkinen comes in for his one and only stop on lap 38. Meanwhile, David Coulthard takes over at the front, picking up the speed with a clear track ahead. 4 laps later, it's time for the Scots' own service. A flash of silver is Häkkönen's McLaren passing the pit lane. David fails to turn the positions around. Häkkönen may now be unstoppable. Dejected Ferrari put their hopes in Barrichello, now running as high as third. Prost teammates Heidfeld and Alesi execute the perfect crime, taking each other off. Much to Alain's distress, it's not their first collision this season. Barrichello's late pit stop on lap 46 gives the crew a chance to assess the damaged Ferrari. They find there's little they can do. Likewise, the Brazilian's teammate can do little about his diminishing lead in the points. Young English driver Jenson Button runs 5th on lap 53. He recovers the Williams after a short detour off track and holds on to his position. The Honda engine in Zonta's BAR gives up 12 laps from the finish. It ends a miserable race for Ricciardo. A flawless drive from pole position to checkered flag. Mika Häkkinen turns into the last corner. Laying to rest rumours that he's lost his motivation, the Finn reminds everyone why he's the reigning world champion.
Now, early on in the race, you received a shift rev sign from your pit. What was that?
Basically, it means it's no point to rev the engine in the maximum RPM. So you don't have to take everything out of the engine. In that point, personally, I was not sure exactly was there a problem, or did they show me just it was no point to push. So automatically I did drop to RPM a couple hundred revs.
Austria sees Häkkinen take his second win of the season. Jenson Button equals his highest position for Williams BMW. The Jordan team were busy at the negotiating table before the start of the Austrian Grand Prix. Frentzen stays for next year. Benetton-bound technical director Mike Gascoigne has been released from his contract.
Trying to find out what's best for Mike, of course what's best for Jordan, and to see if all of those things can happen together, and I'll discuss over the weekend with Flavio what his interests are, and then we'll go back, think about what the best interest for Jordan is, and come up with a solution, I hope, very quickly.
No, somebody hit me in the back and turned me around. Be careful.
Rain is the word on everyone's lips in Hockenheim. Light showers have already dampened the circuit. Every car aims to set a quick time in the opening minutes. David Coulthard shows dexterity in the slippery conditions, setting a lap time 1.4 seconds faster than anyone else. 20 minutes into the session, Fisichella makes a superb effort in the Benetton.
Position 2 at the moment.
The rain continues to pour, soaking the track between the first and third chicanes. Coulthard's pole time is unchallenged until a break in the weather. Sharing the T-car with Schumacher, Barrichello has yet to qualify. The best he can offer on a wet track is 18th. Michael makes one last bid to knock David off the top while the rain holds off. Although his time improves, the German only manages second, and pole sitter Coulthard takes the limelight. Hockenheim's weather is about as unsettled as the myriad of German fans turned out to see Michael Schumacher at his home race. David Coulthard will be mindful of the start in France when Schumacher swerved in his path. At the off, he mimics the German's move. Mika Häkkinen fires past them both. Schumacher changes his line, blocking Fisichella. Both cars exit the race at the first corner. Häkkinen leads Coulthard and Trulli. From the back, Barrichello positively flies. Words are exchanged about the crash, but thankfully, no more. Utilising a car light on fuel, Barrichello tracks and attacks one car after another. Eager to advance before his first stop, he makes easy work of De La Rosa in the arrows. Finally, Trulli is conquered, placing Barrichello third on lap 15. The leaders will be harder to catch. Häkkinen and Coulthard have a clear advantage. McLaren can barely believe their luck. Rubens makes a quick first stop at only 7.2 seconds. Suddenly, a spectator invades the track. There is no alternative but to deploy the safety car. Häkkinen immediately makes his pit stop. Ron Dennis considers the consequences for David Coulthard, who will now have to queue behind the safety car. On the next lap, he peels off into the pit lane. The fuel flap is open and the crew on standby. David selects first gear and moves off his marks. He clears the 80-kilometer speed restriction and accelerates back onto the track. His mechanics have done all they can for now. The strange knock-on effect of a lone protester is that Coulthard drops from second to sixth. Ahead of him is his teammate Trulli, Barrichello, De La Rosa and Frentzen. On lap 29, the safety car leaves the track and racing resumes. Häkkinen wastes no time putting distance between himself and the rest of the field. Crucial while every car is in such close relation. De La Rosa, Zonta and Verstappen all manage to lock up, but to no ill effect. Attention again turns to Barrichello. He benefited from making his second stop when the safety car came out. Ahead is Trulli in second, but he will have to pit once more. Nudged by Deniz, Alesi plows into the barrier. Team boss Alain Prost has another wreckage on his hands. Pedro will do well to steer clear of Jean, who is understandably unhappy. The safety car is brought out for the second time while the debris is cleared off the track. From the spectator's point of view, this can be incredibly dull, but the entertainment value may be rising. Eddie Jordan feels the first signs of rain. The race proper restarts on lap 32. As all cars proceed along the pit straight, Wirtz's Benetton skids off, coming to a rest before making contact with car or barrier. Localized showers then hit the stadium end of the circuit. As Hockenheim is plagued by rain again, everyone shows caution. Ron Dennis takes stock of the situation. Mika Häkkinen opts for wet tyres, as does Jarno Trulli. Notably, Barrichello is one of the few to stay out. The pit lane is a sudden hive of activity. Häkkinen and Trulli, not wishing to gamble with the weather, lose their top positions. Barrichello is promoted to the front. Teammates Villeneuve and Zonta collide. But both recover and continue. Barrichello remains on slick tyres and consequently leads the race. As the track still has dry patches, the Brazilian's lap times vary little from Häkkinen on wets. Frentzen is forced into retirement with electrical failure. It couldn't be more disappointing for the German, who was in line for a podium finish. In the final stages of the race, Barrichello is a comfortable 12 seconds ahead. Taking the checkered flag is an overwhelming new experience for the likeable Brazilian.
That was unbelievable. Just unbelievable. Great drive.
I was just thinking to myself, that it has to be mine. I mean, yesterday was such a bad day, and it can be good. So let's make it as simple as possible. And I couldn't believe. I'm just, I can't believe my eyes.
After 123 starts, Rubens Barrichello takes his first ever Grand Prix victory. Michael Schumacher's last 3 race retirements have allowed Häkkinen and Coulthard to come within 2 points of his championship lead. After a traumatic season and a half with BAR, Jacques Villeneuve surprised many people by signing a new 3-year contract with the team.
A lot better to stay with people you trust and that you know it's going to work. But as far as winning is concerned, I think both teams could have been a viable option, and I'm positive that this team will do it.
In the face of growing criticism from his rivals, Michael Schumacher defended his aggressive race start maneuvers.
Don't put it like this, it's only me who is doing it, which is completely untrue. If you look through the field, you see many doing it. Huh? Yeah. And it happened to the same guys who now complain to me. They have done it in the past as well.
The Hungaroring circuit finds Schumacher and Ferrari under enormous pressure. The German has not scored a championship point since France. Pole position today is crucial. Mika Häkkinen looked to be struggling. The Finn is first out on the track and sets the pace. Arrows have greatly improved this season, but the slow corners will be a test for the orange cars. Pedro de la Rosa's concern about a lack of grip doesn't come to fruition. He takes a commendable 3rd. Perhaps even more impressive, Jenson Button puts his Williams 2nd on the grid. Ralf Schumacher gets the most out of a new and more powerful BMW engine. He takes provisional pole. Minutes later, Coulthard shows the morning speed hasn't deserted him. Schumacher studies teammate Barrichello, calmly assessing the Ferrari's handling. Finally, 30 minutes into qualifying, Michael Schumacher rolls out of the garage. Overnight work on the car appears to have paid off. The German is in a class of his own. He takes pole with ease. Mika Häkkinen is first to challenge, but he's unhappy with the balance of his McLaren. David Coulthard is closer, but still a fraction off pole time. Schumacher has no need for a final run. He heads tomorrow's grid.
We felt confident coming here, and I hope we can be confident going away from here tomorrow. I think it's a matter of setup. You either be fast out the straight or you be fast in the stadium, one or the other.
Mika Häkkinen is not short of support in Hungary, where the start is all important, but he'll find it tough from 3rd on the grid. Drivers complete the warm-up lap and retake their positions for the start. 5 lights go out and the race begins. Schumacher hesitates. Häkkinen grabs the opportunity and dives down the inside. Ferrari have already lost the lead. Coulthard wins third in a scrap with Ralf Schumacher, but otherwise the first corner is taken without incident. Villeneuve passes De La Rosa for 20th place. Both are trailing after a previous collision resulted in a pit stop. Alesi's race is over when a suspension problem caused him to clip the pit lane wall. Fisichella is also in trouble with suspected brake problems. Lap 27. Michael Schumacher is the first front runner to pit. The first of 2 stops will temporarily knock him down from second place. He exits the pit lane in 4th behind teammate Barrichello. Rubens allows the German to pass and Schumacher accelerates away. At the second round of pit stops, Coulthard aims to jump ahead of Schumacher. As he sprints to the end of the pit lane, Michael just beats him to it. The lack of overtaking opportunities means McLaren must really put the pressure on. Exiting the pit on lap 55, Button is eager to slot back into 7th place, a position he's held for the last 23 laps. Unfortunately, the engine dies in the Williams BMW. Both Trulli and Irvine pass him. Standing head and shoulders above the rest of the field, Häkkinen steadies the pace in the last few laps. An efficient car and a master move at the first corner has effectively won him the race. A first-class victory for Mika Häkkinen.
Thank you, guys. Given me 6 important points.
After race 12 of 1999, Häkkinen had 4 wins under his belt. This year, Hungary marks his 3rd. For the first time this season, a new name heads the drivers' table. Häkkinen moves 2 points above Schumacher. McLaren reclaim the lead in the Constructors' Championship. Jordan and BAR battle for 5th. BAR signs Panis for 2001.
The best thing about Olivier's experience, I mean, he's 34 years old. He's been with Prost for many years, where he did very well. But especially what he's been doing with McLaren this year has been fantastic. And I think he's just matured brilliantly with the McLaren team.
I'm very happy to come back for next year for the race. And the choice with BAR, I think, is very good choice. I'm very pleased to work with Jacques Villeneuve next year and the BAR team. I'm very happy.
Giancarlo Fisichella is staying with Benetton for next season. It will be the young driver's 4th year with the Italian team.
Mika, we know that you spent some time in holiday in Italy in the past. Is it a possibility to see you in the future more often in Italy, maybe in Maranello?
Belgium becomes the 13th destination in the Formula 1 season. Many teams make major changes to the cars here to minimize the burden this circuit puts on their aerodynamics. The McLarens are well suited to the Spa circuit. Mika Häkkinen combines speed and smoothness to set pole time. The Jordan team also expect good results here. But even they are surprised when Jarno Trulli takes provisional pole. Frenson's chances are blown at the bus stop, hindered by David Coulthard. Barrichello is caught out at the same spot. Causing the biggest stir of the afternoon, Jenson Button beats off stiff competition. He qualifies his Williams third. Jean Alesi spins the Prost at the bus stop, causing Schumacher to slow on his quickest lap of the session. Häkkänen's new pole time is left unrivaled. Fisichella's Sunday's warm-up was more of a demolition derby. Practice days at Spa had ideal weather conditions. Now, as Sunday's race is due to start, mist and rain prevail over the circuit. McLaren took pole position by nearly a second over anyone else, but the unfamiliar faces of Jarno Trulli and Jenson Button surround them at the front of the grid. Usual tension building is abated by news that the start will take place under the safety car. This is seemingly at the driver's request due to the wet track conditions. Drivers weave back and forth trying to get warmth into the tyres. After one full lap, the safety car is brought in. Häkkinen begins to take advantage of his pole position and edges away from the Jordan. A tricky turn from a standing start, La Source is negotiated without incident. Drivers show caution in the fine spray, their visibility greatly reduced. Positions at the front remain the same after the sweeping curve of Eau Rouge. At the beginning of lap 2, Michael Schumacher, who began fourth, begins putting the pressure on Jenson Button. David Coulthard tags on the back of the Ferrari, looking for his own overtaking opportunity. Before long, Schumacher is past the Williams. And at the next turn, Ferrari power eases him into second. Button tries to capitalize on the move, but is lucky to continue as he shunts the Jordan out of the race. Most cars, including Schumacher, are into the pits for dry tyres at the end of lap 6. Häkkinen is the first McLaren in. Coulthard must wait another lap. Button's Williams also makes it to the pits. The McLarens are briefly first and second, with Schumacher closing in. Both he and Häkkinen are running dry tyres on a slightly damp track, and it's the Ferrari that's faster. McLaren are finally ready to give Coulthard a set of slicks, but staying out that extra lap drops the Scot to 9th. Häkkinen's lead looks secure until Stavlot. As the Finn recovers, Schumacher passes. The Ferrari pulls away at immense speed. The race could be decided, but Häkkinen's determination is not waning and he puts in a charge of his own. Rubens Barrichello rolls to a halt in the pit lane entry road, and mechanics rush to retrieve him. Fuel pressure problems signal his retirement. Häkkinen eats into Schumacher's lead with each passing lap. The Finn now stands a real chance of catching the Ferrari. With just 17 laps remaining, the two teams are in for a nail-biting finish. Häkkinen's attack on Schumacher comes at 190 miles per hour. They almost touch as Schumacher shuts the door. Further back, Coulthard gets a run on Jenson Button. The Williams driver has raced well, but losing fourth means settling for 2 championship points. The leading pair approach Zonta as they near Lake Coombe. This is Mika's moment. As Schumacher veers left, Häkkinen veers right, passing them both. It's an outstanding move and the whole McLaren camp are elated. Isolated from the action up ahead, Ralf Schumacher runs third. Häkkinen leads the place buzzing after his overtaking manoeuvre. He takes it steady in the last 3 laps, but is soon waved to victory by the checkered flag. Ron Dennis is overwhelmed. Mika's sensational move will surely go down in history.
I knew that way following Michael, it's no point to try to follow him and then try to overtake him into the straight, because obviously he's not going to give me a room. It's correct?
Yeah.
So I took plan B and overtook the back marker and at the same time overtook the Michael. And it was great overtaking maneuver and I loved it. I'm not sure if the Michael did.
Mika Häkkinen's win moves him 6 points clear of Michael Schumacher. David Coulthard is still in contention in third. After a difficult debut season with French team Prost, it was confirmed that Nick Heidfeld has signed a 3-year contract with the Sauber team. Sauber are to lose current driver Mika Salo, who signed to fledgling Formula 1 team Toyota. The Finn said he wanted the chance to win.
I've been racing for 7 years in Formula 1 and always for same positions, 5, 6 and 7, so I'm fed up with it.
And Benetton get Button.
I think it's a good opportunity with Benetton. Also Flavio now the ringleader. Yes. And also Renault coming back here. I think it's a great opportunity the next 2 years.
Nothing's going to stop the car out on the circuit.
Jensen has to come back in 2 years' time for a further 2 years. I expect we'll be looking forward to that very much.
Nothing's going to stop the car out on the circuit.
At Monza, attention immediately focuses on the new tight right-hander that is turn 1. It should make the race start interesting, but some drivers have other things on their mind. Qualifying is about to begin and the track is opened. Barrichello is sporting a rear wing slightly different from Schumacher's car. He runs fractionally quicker than his teammate. Häkkinen's best lap is still marginally shy of pole. The Finn complains of understeer. Matching Barrichello's wing setup, Schumacher tries to better his time. And succeeds! McLaren are still problem-solving. But Häkkinen's next flying lap shows they still haven't found the remedy.
So far, we haven't had very often this occasion, and obviously we're very glad that we're back on the road.
Italians worship Ferrari, and luckily the team look on form for the race. McLaren, meanwhile, are not entirely happy with their setup. A scarlet wall faces Häkkinen. Schumacher dares him to have a go. At the start, most eyes are on Ferrari, but at the back, a Lacey has stalled. Häkkinen takes second off Barrichello as they all head towards the first corner. Some don't make it that far. Deniz is pushed into Irvine by teammate Salo. Irvine's Jaguar retires and the two Saubers are damaged. Schumacher stretches his lead oblivious. The race order begins to take shape. However, lap 1 is destined for Monza mayhem. Triggered by Frentzen, 4 cars are involved in the smash. Seconds later, De La Rosa somersaults into the chaos. A wasted opportunity for Trulli, whose temper rises as high as the dust. Surprisingly, the race is not red flagged, but it proceeds under caution. Coulthard and Trulli argue over who's going to sit in the front. The Scot is resigned to a quiet race. Barrichello just broods. Finally, the lights go out on the safety car. Immediately ahead of the restart, Button is caught out by Schumacher's pacing tactics and sudden braking. The Williams BMW receives damage after its scrape with the guardrail and doesn't turn into Parabolica. On lap 11, the safety car disappears and Michael Schumacher heads the field of 14. Now, a rare blend of teams. Sadly, Jacques Villeneuve loses a potential podium finish. The BAR suffers electrical problems, causing the Canadian to retire from third. His teammate Ricardo Zonta provides the action on lap 21. Light on fuel, the BAR passes Verstappen, and the Brazilian moves into third. He pits 2 laps later for the first of 2 stops. By mid-race, the gap between Schumacher and Häkkinen has visibly grown. McLaren expected less tyre wear than Ferrari, which would have given an advantage. As it is, Häkkinen's running up to a second a lap slower than Schumacher. On lap 39, Michael is in for new tyres and fuel that will see him to the end of the race. The Ferrari's pit stop briefly hands the lead to McLaren, but after running 3 laps longer than Schumacher, Häkkinen also makes his one single stop. Second in the championship table, but first in the race, Schumacher looks unstoppable. Häkkinen can't mirror the Ferrari's performance, although he does break down the gap. The Tifosi dream is moments away from becoming reality as Schumacher completes the 53rd and final lap. He crosses the line first for the 6th time this season.
Yeah, fantastic drive, Michael. Perfect. Fantastic drive. Well done.
I'm just happy, I'm just exhausted, and yeah.
I'm not sure if you're aware, but this is your 41st victory, which puts you equal second all time with Ayrton Senna. Do those records mean a lot to you?
Yes, it does mean a lot to me. Sorry.
David Coulthard is now out of the championship race after failing to score in Monza. Schumacher revives his own title chances, moving within 2 points of Mika Häkkinen. The devastating accident at Monza's second chicane claimed the life of Fire Marshal Paolo Gislimberti. Despite receiving immediate medical attention, the Marshal died of injuries which he sustained when he was struck by debris.
The only way really to feel sorry about everything there is to attend at the funeral and be there, give the relative the support.
For the first time in 9 years, the US plays host to Formula 1. Rich in motorsport heritage, what better place to bring a Grand Prix than Indianapolis? The Ferrari pair use the circuit's long straight to their advantage in qualifying. Schumacher maneuvers into Barrichello's slipstream to get a tow. With his teammates' help, he improves on his own pole position time. Hakkinen makes his final attempt to get ahead. The Finn knocks Barrichello from the front row but fails to take pole by 0.2 of a second. David Coulthard still has a run left. The McLarens take a tip off Ferrari, causing anxiety in the garage. The Scot takes the second fastest time. The Indianapolis grid is resolved. Schumacher in pole. Indianapolis Speedway smacks an all-American stamp on Formula 1. Headed by Schumacher, the grid is complete. All drivers try to anticipate the lights. They don't always get it right. David Coulthard undoubtedly jumped the start. Surely a matter for the stewards. In the meantime, he leads. Schumacher is second, then Hakkinen and Barrichello. Trulli lies fifth, then Button sixth. The young Englishman takes a run at Trulli early on. It's not the first time they've collided this season, and they both receive punctures. Jordan driver Trulli comes to a stop soon after the incident. Barrichello pits as the drying track calls for slick tyres. Many other drivers will follow suit. Race leader Coulthard tries to give Hakkinen an advantage by holding up Schumacher. But the German is not playing the game. Coulthard doesn't make it easy. But the Ferrari goes through and into the lead. Still on the same lap, Hakkinen pits, taking on a set of dry tyres in the process. He rejoins fifth behind Mazzucane's Bernardi. Predictably, David Coulthard incurs a 10-second stop-go penalty. He must stop again next lap to change tyres, which will drop him out of the running. Schumacher continues to extend his lead, but has stayed out on wets longer than most others. He slots his pit stop into lap 16, while Hakkinen, now up into second, takes advantage of some clear track. He gains more time with every sector. The middle of the race could be brewing some exciting action as Schumacher heads off to defend his position. However, engine failure spoils all the fun, a severe blow to Hakkinen. Now Schumacher only need finish fifth to overtake the Finn in the championship points table. An alternative battle develops later in the race. But Villeneuve hands his third place over to Barrichello. The BAR recovers and fights on. Rubens moves up into second after Frentzen pits and maintains the position through his own stop on lap 53. After running as high as second, Ralf Schumacher retires with a leak in the Williams pneumatic system. Villeneuve makes a comeback. Frentzen has something he wants, but third eludes him again.
Get back to him pretty quickly, come on.
No challenge equals lack of concentration. Thousands simultaneously draw breath as Schumacher spins just 4 laps shy of the flag. The Ferrari lives on, acknowledging the wake-up call. Schumacher, who now looks like the gambling man's favourite for the championship title, is waved to a win by Tony George.
It's the first time we've been here, and I guess nobody of us expected to have such a great welcome from the American fans, although it's probably not only American because they came here from all over the world. But seeing so many people here celebrating with us this victory, 1-2 for Ferrari, it's, yeah, the best.
Schumacher surpasses Ayrton Senna's record number of wins. Senna coincidentally won the last US Grand Prix in '91. One more victory stands between Schumacher and the championship title. 8 points behind, Häkkinen is now his only rival. The 20 points at stake are not enough for Coulthard. Champ Car star Juan Pablo Montoya is set to join the Williams Formula 1 team next year.
Well, clearly we think that he's a very talented driver, and I don't think he has done anything but learn and improve by racing over here for 2 seasons.
After a troubled season, Prost are to part company with Peugeot, favouring a supply of customer Ferrari engines.
It's the best news of the year, and we made an agreement with Ferrari for the next 2 years.
For Schumacher and Häkkinen, pole position at Suzuka will be the most important one they fight this season. Schumacher has already set Häkkinen a target. The Finn's lap is quicker, giving him provisional pole for the first time this session. Under pressure, the German makes another run. Pushing the Ferrari a little harder, using a bit more curb here and there, he lowers the lap time again. As the hour passes, Häkkinen has one last chance to recover the top spot. Through the first sector, he's up by 0.02 of a second, but he needs a faultless run to maintain it. An Arrows has slowed him by a fraction, and when he crosses the line, it isn't enough. Schumacher fronts the Japanese grid. Schumacher! Race 16 is just moments away.
14 minutes. See you afterwards.
Maybe it's the humidity, but the atmosphere is intense. Häkkinen has looked surprisingly calm. Schumacher searches for inner strength. The waiting over. Michael swerves right in what is becoming a routine move for the German. But Mika has the advantage and isn't letting go. Entering the first curve at 160 miles per hour, Ralf Schumacher climbs into fourth behind David Coulthard. Häkkinen immediately looks strong, leaving the Ferrari trailing. Further down the field, there's barely inches between the wheels. Car number 1 looks to be edging away. Schumacher's crew show him the statistics, putting into perspective the work to be done. Jean Alesi's Peugeot engine decides to blow in a big way on lap 19. The Prost comes to rest in the centre of the track, bringing out the yellow flags. From the leaders, Häkkinen is the first to pit on lap 22. It comes later than expected for a 2-stop strategy, though his pace suggests that is the case. Schumacher approaches his own stop. The German's in-lap is around a second quicker than Häkkinen's. The Ferrari crew get to work on Michael's car. He's stationary for just 7.4 seconds. But pit stops haven't altered the race positions. Once Coulthard comes in on lap 24, Häkkinen will once again lead the race. Schumacher is some 2.4 seconds adrift. Heavy showers dampen the circuit around lap 37, just as Häkkinen pits for the second time. About to catch the Jaguars in combat, this stop should avoid a tangle. He takes a fresh set of dry tyres and returns to the track. Unfortunately, Mika runs straight up to De La Rosa. The Arrows is frustratingly slow through the corners. Häkkinen loses precious time until Pedro peels off into the pit lane. All the while, Schumacher puts in some extremely swift laps. Heavy with fuel, Alex Wirtz finds that Benetton's handling is terrible. He becomes an obstacle for Schumacher, who's heading for the pit lane. Lap 40 and Ferrari need to work quick if they want to keep the lead. It's an outstanding stop, the quickest of the race. Having encountered more traffic, Häkkinen has barely come out of turn 18 as Schumacher exits the pit lane. There's now only 13 laps remaining and rain to contend with. Häkkinen, clamped in second, senses an opportunity in the final laps as Schumacher backs off. In reality, though, the German was never going to concede his most historic win. It's been a long time coming, but Ferrari have finally spawned another world champion.
You're great, Ross. You're great, Ross. All of you guys. No, I can't. Oh, we did it. We did it. Oh, thanks. Oh, give Karina a big kiss for me.
It's difficult to find proper words for such feeling. I mean, there was such an outbreak of emotion initially when I crossed the line. I mean, this conditions were difficult today. The rain, no rain, a little bit more. The upgoing, the downgoing through the season, and then finally achieve it with a victory. The way we did it in, I mean, a fight until the last corner, thanks to Mika. Could have done it a bit easier for me. It's simply outstanding and no words for it to explain it any better.
Michael Schumacher takes his third win in a row, mirroring the start of the season. Winner of Japan for the last 2 years, Häkkinen settles for second. Satisfying Ferrari's 21-year craving, Michael Schumacher wins his third World Championship title. Ferrari requires a fourth-place finish in Malaysia to beat McLaren in the Constructors' Championship. Jaguar announced their new test driver for 2001 would be Thomas Scheckter, son of Ferrari's last world champion, Jody.
We've decided that it's unlikely that somebody else is going to train our good drivers, and we'd best get busy and have our own training program.
Don't tell him, don't tell him.
Michael Schumacher may have won the Drivers' Championship battle in Japan, but pole position in Malaysia will be fought with as much intent. Ferrari aim to secure the Constructors' title. Pole position would help that cause. Nobody's been able to beat Schumacher's current pole time, except of course himself. He runs 4/10 quicker. Barrichello saves his best run until last. But he hasn't got the edge on Schumacher. McLaren are not out of the equation. The session is winding up as Coulthard knocks Barrichello aside. Häkkinen comes round to complete his final lap. He takes the front row spot next to Schumacher, while Barrichello is dropped to fourth.
The race is long, we know we have a good car, and let's see what happens.
The grid is already assembled alongside the Malaysian grandstand. This will be a tough race, not least because temperatures average 35 degrees. Second-guessing the start, Häkkinen moves too early. He may be issued with a penalty like Coulthard in the US, but right now he's ahead in the race. Down to the first bend, Coulthard's around the outside of Schumacher and into second. Villeneuve moves up to fourth. They bunch up into turn 2. Heidfeld and Deniz make contact, flipping De La Rosa in the process. With cars and debris sprawled across the track, the safety car is brought out the end of lap 2. As racing resumes, McLaren teamwork comes into play. Häkkinen lets Coulthard pass, but Schumacher is dangerously close. Before he knows it, the Finn is moving backwards through the field. Schumacher takes second, Barrichello third. On lap 5, Häkkinen pays the price of a jump start, 10 seconds in the pits. Coulthard extends his lead, setting the new fastest lap time. But triple world champion Michael Schumacher can never be discounted. After his stop-go penalty, Häkkinen runs 19th and last. On lap 39, Schumacher's second pit stop is just 6.6 seconds. He will exit behind his teammate, who has yet to stop. Importantly, David Coulthard, who stopped 1 lap earlier, is not in sight. When Barrichello pits, Schumacher will take the lead. McLaren versus BAR at 185 miles per hour. Villeneuve outbrakes himself. Häkkinen's worked up to fourth. Johnny Herbert's last Formula 1 race ends with a bang. The Jaguar crashes out with rear suspension failure. Herbert suffers minor leg injuries. By the final lap, Ferrari are due 14 points, 11 more than needed for the Constructors' title. Schumacher finishes the season how he started it, with a win. Only this time, he's a world champion.
Yeah, we did it. We won the Constructor Championship after all. Not by just taking 3 points, by winning and becoming third. That's just, I think, the right result, what the team deserves.
Schumacher's 4th win in a row, his 9th of 2000. Eddie Irvine is in the points for only the 2nd time this season. With a 19-point advantage, Michael Schumacher takes his 3rd World Championship title, ensuring his name goes down with Formula 1's all-time heroes. Ferrari repeat last year's success, winning the Constructors' title by 18 points. McLaren are 2nd again. Malaysia was the final Grand Prix for Brit Johnny Herbert. In a career spanning 11 years, he has won twice for Benetton and again most recently with Stewart. For the last season, he has partnered Eddie Irvine at Jaguar.
My goal of being a world champion is not there anymore, and if that goal is not there anymore, then there's no use just driving around in circles just for the sake of being in Formula 1, because that's not what I want to do.